Hello, welcome to Tales for Wales, the podcast that never fails to make you hopping mad to get into Welsh history. We'll make you top of the hops around Welsh entertainment and absolutely
hopping mad about something or other.
I just said hopping mad. That was my second one.
I know, but I could tell you were running out of steam, so I thought let's go back through it again.
The same one. I just can't be arsed with the intros anymore. I've lost my love of doing them.
It's the only reason people tune in anymore. That's
what can it be for Hopkins? Close up. What can I do? Plus, I know it feels that makes you slightly say more offensive things as you get older, because everything I see of Hopkins at the moment.
To look more, there never fails to look a little bit more mad than we did last month.
Yeah. Well, we're fans of old Hopkey, aren't we? But I mean, he has come out with some batshit.
We're his demographic Welsh films done blokes, basically.
Bloody ruddy blokes.
You know, he's not appeared in the files yet, is he? So
no, but he has his daughter has disowned him, which is never a good sign.
I did read into that. I've purposely I've purposely neglected that from my research, but I'm now gonna just undo that because I'm going to talk about it now.
Yeah.
Do you know why she has disowned him, whatever.
No.
Basically, he's
an alcoholic, wasn't he?
Big old alky, big boozer back in the day, classic Welshman. Legend,
That is kind of true, though, wasn't it? Like Richard Burton was a big boozer.
There's no smoke without fire. Or what is that?
What do you mean by that?
what was the autobiography?
Dave Jones, the Welsh.
Was it like no smoke? Was it like smoke and fire or something?
No, it was kind of city manager who got accused of being a paedophile, and then he wrote a book called No Smoke, No Fire. But I thought he was called No Smoke Without Fire, and he was kind of giving a nod and a wink to the audience. He's like,
I am one. Yeah,
No Smoke Without Fire, guys.
All my true believers will understand. Yeah. Sorry, no, but he basically, his daughter, if you didn't know, disowned him because he was a bit of a shit dad. Classic shit Welsh dad.
Yeah, we've all got one.
We've all got one. If you're from Wales, you got
a shit dad.
But because he was a really bad alcoholic, it just seems as though he's kind of gone, well, there we are.
Can't have me at my worst, you can't get me at my best.
Yeah, if you don't like me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best.
Marilyn Monroe's it.
But there we are. I like I said, I didn't cover that in my notes, but there we are. That's that.
Well,
sorry to regress and talk about. Can we do our little banter segment, please?
Yeah. I was going to say we got a bit carried away there, didn't we?
We went too keen into the subject matter, and we know people don't want to go straight into the actual subject matter.
No.
they want to.
Some people actually message us and they just like the piss about section, which I get.
My sister-in-law is always saying to me, like, God, you just talk about shit for like 15 minutes. I was like, some people actually like that. They think it's a boon.
That's the laugh.
That's the laugh.
Yeah, they get
some people don't tune in for that.
Yeah. I think if I was in this podcast as a listener, I don't know what part I'd enjoy more. Because sometimes the history part is boring.
Just talking about shit that's happened loads and loads of years ago.
Right, whatever. What's your preamble?
Shall I tell you about an interesting event that happened when I went away with our dear friend Andy Yue? The other weekend. So me and Andy went away. We went to go see a little metal band called Sleep Theory.
Jack's poorly, by the way, in case you can tell why.
Yes, if you're thinking I'm just putting on a really sexy voice, I'm not. I've just gotten over an illness. But yeah, me and Andy, we went away to Bristol, for a weekend. Literally. For those who don't know, he's Frank just put his glasses on and then went, "Don't need these." Very comedically. If only you had the video feed. Anyway, me and Andy went away, went to Bristol, and we were going to see a gig, Sleep Theory, right? We met up at like midday, and it was like a sesh, basically. It was an excuse for a sesh.
I think everything we do is an excuse for a sesh.
Absolutely. So he messaged me like months before that, and we're like, "Sleep Theory are playing Bristol."
It's Sleep Theory. I love metal bands.
Right, I know.
So
thing is, if you're a metalhead, right, there's so many people at the moment who have sleep something. There's Sleep Token, Sleep Theory, Sleep fucking digits.
Sleep when you're dead.
Sleep when you're dead. But anyway, Yui went like, "Oh, do you like Sleep Theory? They're playing in Bristol in however many months." And I was like, literally never listened to their music.
I actually have heard of them. I think they're massive at the moment, aren't they?
They are big. Yeah, they are big. Yeah. And he went, "Well, do you want to just come and get drunk with me, and then we'll go see him?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, done. Like, easy fucking sell."
You had me at drunk, so that's how I said.
Get drunk.
Yeah. Well, that's glad you said it.
So anyway, we went and everything. Good time, very nice time. We went for a bottomless brunch. I booked a bottomless brunch for us, of course I did. I don't know if it was Andy's first, but he certainly wasn't. He was certainly amateur hour with him at one point. The woman came over and went like,
"Can we just give background? Because in case we have got some new listeners. Jack is medically obsessed with bottomless brunch. He's like a divorced mum who's just like got away from the kids."
2024, there was a month that I did like 6.
Yeah. There will be, they say like in life you're guaranteed life, death, and taxes. You're also guaranteed Jack saying, "If you're with me, gotta go
bottomless brunch." Right. So I don't know if it was Andy's first bottomless brunch, but he was certainly acting like it was fucking first. All right, because the woman came over and we like you can't see this, people who are not on the video feed, but I've got. What's that? 80% of my drink there, right? And she came over and went, "Oh, do you guys want another one?" And Andy was like, "Oh no, I've got enough, thanks." And I was like, "Andy, shut up." Yeah. I was like, "Yes, we'll have another 2, please." I was like, "This is your first rodeo, isn't it? Like, this is what are you doing?" Anyway, we got very battered. It was all very good fun. Went to the gig. Barely remember the gig. I got to be honest. We went back to the hotel and we were like, on the way back, I was like, "Mate, I'm so hungry." I was like, "We haven't eaten since like lunch, bottomless brunch." And I was like, "Oh, we need some food." And he was like, yeah, we'll go somewhere on the way back. There was just fucking nowhere on like our direct route home. So Andy was like, "I'm going to bed." And I was like, "I'm going to try the hotel bar just on the off chance."
Where were you?
It was like it was a Holiday Inn.
Yeah, in Bristol.
Just, in Bristol, yeah. And I was like, "I'm going to try the hotel bar and see if they got, just on the off chance they're going to do something." Stumbled out, absolutely pissed. There was some poor girl behind the bar, and I was like, "Are you doing food?"
And she was
like, "Not really." And I said, "You couldn't even do me like a little toasty." And she went, "Yeah, go on, we'll do your toasty then." And then she was saying, I was like, "And I'll have a vodka and coke. And I'll have a spice rum and coke, please." And she went, "Oh, all right." So I stood there, right? So I was munching on a little fucking, what's it called? A croque monsieur or whatever.
Croque madame.
Whatever. I was fucking chomping that, drinking my fucking my spice rum, watching reels on with my headphones or something. She was just stood behind the bar like that, like so, because she's got to attend the bar, make sure I'm not a fucking reprobate. Anyway, finished that, went to bed, no problem. Woke up in the middle of the night with our good friend Andrew Uwe standing over my bed, like staring at me. Right? I woke up and I said, "What are you doing?" And he went, he said, "You're in my bed." And I said, "No, I'm not. I'm in my bed." And he looked over to his own bed that was empty, went, "Oh yeah." I just went to bed.
That's terrifying.
But this thing then, we ended up talking for like an hour and a half, 2 hours after that, because I was in my head.
Talking?
Yeah, because like you woke me up and we were talking, God, we talked about such bollocks. We were obviously still pissed. But the funny thought that came to my head was that Andy went like, "I'm going to go for a piss in the middle of the night." And then I went, "Finally," and scrambled into his bed and went, "See it, sucker. Like, this is the bed I wanted all along."
I've snuggled in.
And also the idea that, that if I had done that, they were so easily convinced. So you went, "No, this is my bed." I went, "Yeah, fair."
Yeah,
done.
all right then.
Yeah, all right, fair. Weak, you, if you're listening, you're weak, mate. But no, good time, very good time.
It made me really keen for us to have I put in the group earlier for all the boys to have a night away, like a weekend away, and it seems like everyone can do it. It seems like the response. Normally when you organise something, it's a fucking bore. Like, it's been like really smooth. Like everyone can do like at least one of the dates.
That's all we need, mate. That's all we need. But how pivotal are polls these days?
I know. Yeah,
the WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
How did we do it before? I don't even remember how we used to do that. I think fucking ball like.
But I think also we want to go somewhere like a provincial town. Like we love doing provincial towns, like small little towns.
There must be more to this provincial life. Yeah, exactly.
Where you can go find like a lower league football team.
I want to go see, as you've corrected me many times before, grassroots sports.
Yeah, yeah. What do you call it? You call it like
I said low level shit sports, fucking dog shit sports.
Let me just quickly message that group. Actually, any more before we close the poll? Like we're fucking.
I love you could do that after this recording. It's like I have to do it right now.
Yeah, others I'll forget. Well, I had a few things I was going to yap on about as well. But how far are we in? Not too far. How far is how many? What is this episode going to be about?
What is this episode, mate? It's about Anthony Hopkins, mate. You know damn right.
Yeah, but what, like his film lineage or his background?
Yeah, his film lineage, a little bit of his background, and then I thought if we had time at the end, we could do like personal discussions about him because I know we got a lot to say.
All right, then.
But I've got a very tiny addition to make if you want.
We did also have, I got in my notes, Welsh Super Cup email shout out. We meant to do something about Welsh Super Cup.
Welsh Super Cup email shout out.
We're so bad at doing
It's great when we put notes down, we don't actually know what they mean.
Let's quickly Google our Super Cup.
Let's Google Welsh Super Cup and see what happens. My other note, by the way, was it's not going into the depths of it. We're not going to go gross and all that.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, go on. You
Epstein versus Epstein. Right?
What does that mean?
I think it's a lesser covered thing of this whole Epstein fiasco, right? Is it? I could be watching a video and it's like I'm wholeheartedly in agreement where it's like, you know, we've uncovered that the whole world's run by a fucking cabal of pedos, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, God, yeah. Lock them up, string them up, whatever. I'm like, oh, yeah. Everyone goes, anyone who's associated with Epstein. And I'm like, Epstein? Epstein?
Epstein.
I'm like, Epstein? It's Epstein, right?
Not undermine the entire thing.
Yeah, and they go, no, I'm not backing you. Like, no, I'm not. I'm not on the streets with you.
Nonce's name.
I could be at the gates of Parliament. I could be at the, you know, in the front of the White House with torches and pitchforks, and someone goes, "That's down with anyone who's have anything to do with Epstein." Epstein, and I go, Epstein.
I can't
more of this.
Believe how funny that photo is of poor old Duke of York when he's in the back. Imagine
we're both doing an impression.
We're both doing an impression. It's like, why? You know everyone's going to be taking a photo. Oh, can I make myself look like the most fat frog?
Shall I go out dignified?
Yeah.
Or should I look like a big fat fucking frog?
Like someone's like half deflated a balloon and draw a face on it. It's just like he's like, ugh.
You know those conspiracy theorists who think the royal family are reptiles?
Yeah, he looked pure
Liz.
Like,
shall I give that some confirmation? Yeah.
It's so funny that like this is like the end of days for like Western society, and everyone just makes memes about it. It's just like it's so good.
I don't know if it's part of the plan though, to be like, we'll all make memes and then just go, it's all good, isn't it? And then like nothing will ever happen. Like these people won't get fucking punished.
Because every single society does end, doesn't it? Like the Greeks, the Romans, the Mesopotamians, the fucking Egyptians.
Students of history ourselves,
students of history.
mate.
Although I'm so scared of death that I've now warped my idea thinking there is actually no history before us and nothing's real. I've genuinely done thinking.
It's all fine.
I think it's
me
too
and you
far-fetched.
are just a couple of spice-addicted hobos in some other reality, and this is all a dream.
I honestly can't believe that there's been that much history before us. I think we are part of some simulation. And
do you think it's mad that the right-wing nutters who said there's a cabal of pedos running everything were actually right?
Well, I kind of
fair play to them.
I reckon we've always known. I don't think they were running it. I just thought they were getting away with stuff. I suppose they probably were.
Have you seen Jeffrey Epstein? Right, he was responsible for fucking microtransactions in games. Did you see that?
What?
That was in the files, mate.
There's a line.
Paedophilia, fine, but microtransactions, yeah.
Jesus Christ!
But no, yeah, he's like that's
first
the level.
That's
the level it goes.
And then they came for the communists.
Do
and I
not
did
try and sell me something in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, or I will come for you. But no, that is it. That's the level. I was thinking this is the level of depth it goes to. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, I just always assumed that people at the top do whatever they can to make as much money as they can. Like, I don't think it's like a secret. I think, well, that's just how it works.
Yeah, I always assumed that.
Yeah.
But I just assumed it was like, let's make as much money as possible. Let's not
ruined
fucking
Star Wars
kids.
Battlefront 2.
They fucking ruined my PlayStation games.
Oh, God. I am so hot in this room. It's ridiculous. I have to open a window. And before we start, I might have a beer. I might go top myself up a beer. Are we done with Epstein?
Yeah, if you want to put Epstein to bed, mate. I'll do that.
Well, that's the bloody problem, isn't it?
You're in bed too much.
All right, I'm going to go grab a pint. See you in a second.
Oh, and then, yeah, we'll do a little, the elevator music here.
From one long list of paedophiles to one long list of movies, we go to...
Excellent.
We go to our own Anthony... Oh, not Anthony. What's his name?
Anthony Hopkins.
I kept thinking Bourdain. I was like,
Anthony Bourdain.
We're not doing Bourdain, are we?
We're not doing, you questioned me then. You're not doing Bourdain.
You haven't gone down Bourdain.
He's not Welsh, is he? Bourdain doesn't sound Welsh.
Yeah. Well, no. So from old Hoppy, the old fruits of the loom.
We're doing Hopkins, all right? That's why you're here.
I would say you're probably a bigger fan of him than me. I've always thought I respect his daughter's wishes, and I think
there's no wonder she's got no contact.
Yes,
after, such an awful alcoholic father.
Yeah.
But screw you bitch. We're doing all. Yeah, no, I'm only joking. I can't think of what her name is, but yeah, I'm only joking.
I'm only joking,
love. Don't worry about it.
I'm just like your dad. I'm an alcoholic mess.
I'm so pissed. I'm sorry. You've been through this before, haven't you?
Right. We're only laughing because we can relate. Because
it's okay. We had shit Welsh dads too, so it's okay. We get it. We get the pain. But anyway. Like I said, today we're going to be talking about the thespian gem that came out of the bosom of Wales herself. So
if I was to do this, what would that signal to you?
You need to do it again because I missed the actual seeing it.
That's why I got a bit of phlegm I got when I did it.
Nice. What are you trying to convey? A cat?
No! Oh, no. Oh, it's all going wrong. You know in the Zorro when it's like...
Oh, the fucking Jaguars fucking roar, yeah.
We have to drop that in here,
right.
Okay?
There will be a time and a place for the Jaguars roar. Okay, I've left space for that. Don't worry.
You're editing this, right? So you have to drop it in here.
Yeah, don't worry.
And that'll make sense later on.
Yeah, it's totally working now, 100%. But
100%, mate,
100%, bro. Right. Anyway, so like I said, we've been talking about this top man from Wales. His name is Sir Philip Anthony Hopkins.
You've fallen apart at the seams.
I know.
We clearly had 10 pints today.
10 pints minimum.
Coming through.
But did you know this? His name is Phil. Big old Phil.
Philly.
Sir Philip Anthony Hopkins.
Well, I knew I couldn't trust him.
I know, a liar. No wonder his fucking daughter didn't want to fucking hang about with him. Liar for that. Phil.
Hopkins. Yeah. Is Anthony more like adventurous name than Phil? You know, normally they
they're
change
both kind of like
the exact
old
same
man,
name.
aren't they?
Yeah.
Philip.
Well, they're not even old man. They're like 50-year-old man, like proper middle-aged names. Like
Hopkins, even that Welsh name, actually.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry for interrupting.
Anyway, sorry. So today I'm going to go through what I considered his greatest performances, but also I'm going to chat about some of the less usual roles he's taken over the years, some of which I think will give us a good chuckle.
He generally is.
He's one of the best of the generation, I'd say.
And I was like, actually, he is fucking amazing. Like, I know we're dicking around, but we
are dicking about.
And he does put Wales on the map. Like, genuinely puts Wales on the map.
And
he's very proud
one of those
Welsh.
ones who's not afraid of saying he's Welsh as well. So it's like it does every time he gets a chance, he does mention it, which is great. And yeah, so I'm going to go through like his ones that probably everyone knows if you've got any sense of like film. I'm going to go ones lesser known ones that are like sort of a bit more off piste for him as a role, and then if we got some time at the end, we might do a little chinwag about just me and you, just talking about how much we love the bloke.
Yeah. If we got time at the end, like we're in somewhere to go,
as if we're on a schedule, we can make it as long as we want. We can make it as long as we want.
We got a bottle
Guess
of rum
what?
each.
We're gonna have a little chinwag at the end. So for those who don't know who Hopkins is, Philip Anthony Hopkins was born on the 31st of December 1937.
Ooh.
In Margam, Port Talbot, Wales, to Annie Muriel and Baker Richard Arthur Hopkins.
That feels like they got the name in the wrong order.
I know,
should we call
doesn't
it? Archer Hopkins Baker, not like
Absolutely.
Don't start with Baker.
So Hopkins' parents, they ran a bakery in Port Talbot.
Oh, his name is Baker.
Sorry, was that not clear? I said,
no,
and Baker, Richard Arthur Hopkins.
His name is Baker Richard Arthur Hopkins.
This is going to be a long episode, isn't it?
That's why I said his name sounded they got it in the wrong order. And you went, yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah, whatever.
He was born to Annie Muriel and Richard Arthur Hopkins.
What, is
they were bakers. Annie? What?
It's Annie and Muriel. Come on.
What? She painted murals? Anyway, they ran a bakery in Port Talbot, right? And Anthony credits his father's working class values as one of the main reasons he remains grounded in life. Hopkins struggled in school. He preferred to paint and draw and play piano. He once said of his school life, "I was a poor learner, which left me open to ridicule and gave me an inferiority complex. I grew up absolutely convinced I was stupid."
Well, poor lad.
Well, we've all been there, haven't we?
I mean, I have been there. that
If he was in school with us, he'd definitely be fucking 15 minutes extra on the fucking test, wouldn't he?
Well, you make fun of that. I had to go, I wasn't even, in our school, if you had dyslexia or a bit of like a tough learner, you had like 15 minutes or 15% extra time at the end. I was such a backwards lad that I had to be in a separate room to everyone else. I couldn't even do my exams with everyone.
Because you used to do, and no one's going to see this because it's not the video for you. You used to go,
oh,
to Pete, you used to go, do the face I'm doing now is right. Basically, the reason frankly he's saying, "Oh, ADHD, they were horrible to me. They really were." No, it's because if you were writing, you were like, "Right, I got to really focus on this now." You'd look over to Frank's, he'd give you this fucking little look, like that's the noise. He didn't make a noise, but if that face could make a noise, it'd be
I also
he'd do that noise to you, that face to you. He'd do all this shit, right? And he'd distract everybody. That's why he was separated. Oh, poor ADHD me. It wasn't. They were so horrible to us.
To me, my
you were a distraction, massive distraction.
You'd put me in the cells right now if you could. I know what you're like.
I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah,
I love it. I remember you were like, I'm not putting you in the same category as Chuffers.
Oh,
but Chuffers used to turn around and go.
Long time listeners to the show will know our dear friend Kevin. We still
Obsession
but
with Kevin.
He used to laugh. He'd go. Right, we are derailed.
Right, sorry. Right, this is nothing
Let's take this
to do with
serious
Hopkins.
and talk about Hopkins.
Okay. Back to where we are. So at 15 years old, Anthony Hopkins, he met Richard Burton. Okay, another huge star from Wales. For those
Squirting Burton.
Squirting Burton, as he used to call him. And in a much later interview, he said this on the event of meeting Richard Burton. Quote, "Very gracious, very nice. I don't know where everyone gets the idea we were good friends. I suppose it's because we're both Welsh and we grew up near the same town. For the record, I didn't really know him at all." So absolutely downplaying what could have been a really good in at that age, I imagine.
Sounds quite hard work.
Yeah, despite not being very pally with Burton, he has said that he was very inspired by him, and because of that, because of the inspiration he got from Burton, he joined the Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama, which he graduated from in 1957. Hopkins came across Burton again alongside Peter O'Toole.
Dirty bugger.
I knew you would do that. You know, when I was writing this, I was like, I bet you any money Frank's going to be like, "Oh, came across her, barely knew her." Something like that. Anyway, okay, sorry, let me rephrase that. Hopkins met Burton again alongside Peter O'Toole during rehearsals for a play named Equus. He described them as larger-than-life talents, and their achievements encouraged Hopkins to further develop his artistic talent. He spent 2 years doing his national service between 1958 and 1960 in the Royal Artillery Regiment, before moving to London when he returned to study at RADA, aka the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts, from where he graduated in 1963.
RADA's like the big one, isn't it?
That's a huge one, yeah. That's a big deal. I also thought it was very interesting. I had no idea that he actually served. I know it's national service or whatever, but it's... I don't know why I just didn't assume that he would have done anything like that. And to be in like the artillery regiment as well. I don't know. That's a nice little detail, I thought. Anyway, his first professional acting appearance was in the Palace Theatre in Swansea in 1960 in a play called Have a Cigarette.
Sounds dog shit.
How shit is theatre, though?
It is absolutely.
Have a cigarette. Shit. Oh, yeah, it sounds great.
And you can picture it, can't you? Like someone wants to go... the only time I get to myself. It's fuck off.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Yeah,
bet you're wondering how I got here. Or just not even that. It's just that it's so everything's over the top. Do you know what I hate when you do theatre, right? Or when you see theatre? Is at the end when they all come out and hold hands and bow, and then like. To be fair, I've only seen pantomimes, so they all applaud the baddie.
They're all really gay.
But I just find it so cringe and like over the top, and it's like when they're like, "Oh, thank you." It's like, you fucking...
I think theatre by its very nature is like overacting.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I think.
I just don't. Yeah, it is.
I mean that might be a really like fucking narrow-minded idea because I'm a guy who likes film.
That's the thing. We are film bros, right? We want to see the Safdie brothers.
I've been to the theatre 3 times in my life, so I feel like I'm quite qualified.
But it is long-winded,
sum it up in like 2 things by saying it's shit.
Yeah. Although we are going to go see Owain v Henry.
That's true. And if that's not good, then solidify.
I mean, if we don't enjoy that, a play designed for 2 Welsh history nerds. With Wales' best current actor, maybe, Michael Sheen, and if that doesn't
easily
get us
in
going,
the top echelons,
if that doesn't,
if that doesn't get a rousing fucking,
we just start booing if it's bad.
I'm gonna start throwing shit.
I could be at home watching Heat. This is crap.
Yeah, I'm going to watch Braveheart. All right.
I think I might
sorry, back to Anthony Hopkins. Sorry. So. Like I said, his first professional gig was in Have a Cigarette in 1960, right? He did these smaller gigs until he was spotted in 1965 by none other than the late, great Laurence Olivier, who invited him to join the Royal National Theatre in London.
Can I add in something here? Sorry, I know this is we haven't done one like this in a while, so fucking forgive us.
I don't care, mate. Don't worry about it.
O'Toole, Burton... Olivia, what's her name?
Laurence Olivier,
Laurence Olivier and Hopkins were renowned alcoholics
booze
and drugs.
Hounds.
Yeah, and there's a big book called I can't remember that. There's a book.
Mate, I've got it. I've put it on my wish list on Amazon. I can't think what it is, but it's basically all the like filth stories.
Yeah,
and it's like it's meant to be incredible.
Yeah.
What was the other one? It was the guy who was in Gladiator, who died during Gladiator.
Yeah, that's Ollie Reed. That's Olivia Reed.
Oliver Reed. That's Oliver Reed.
That's who we were just talking about.
No. I'm about Laurence Olivier.
Yeah, sorry. We
Oliver Reed.
Drunk.
Oliver Reed was another.
I think it's called Hellraisers.
Yes, that's it. Oliver Reed, the way he died is incredible. And there's loads of people like Ahmed Jalili came out and was like, "Oh, it was so sad. He regressed into his alcoholism." I was like, "Mate, he went out like a champ.
Yeah,
you're a fucking champ."
Yeah. Talking of Ahmed Jalili, I just watched The Mummy, and he's in that.
So pretty good.
And also, I told Emma what a swashbuckling film was. She hadn't heard that word before, and she kept calling it a squashbuckler, which made me laugh.
Squashbuckler.
Yeah, she's
drinking loads of squash. Yeah.
But yeah, The Mummy's fantastic.
If Anthony Hopkins is in The Mummy, that's all I'll be talking about, mate. But yeah. Right. I'm going to get back. We will have our moment.
Yeah, we
in
will
the
have
sun.
our moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, like I said, Laurence Olivier, he discovered Anthony Hopkins, right? Convinced him to join the Royal National Theatre in London. While there, Hopkins became Olivier's understudy for a production of The Dance of Death. And in 1967, our boy Anthony lucked out when Olivier was struck down with appendicitis. And so, as his understudy, Anthony Hopkins had to fill in for him as the main role. Mm. Olivier later wrote in his memoir, which is called Confessions of an Actor, quote, "A new young actor in the company of exceptional promise named Anthony Hopkins was understudying me and walked away with the part of Edgar like a cat with a mouse between its teeth." Mm. Hopkins in some small screen action, but his movie debut came in 1968 with The Lion in Winter, where he played Richard the Lionheart in a royal family drama about political succession in medieval England. I feel like this is something that me and you really should be aware of, even if we've never heard of it. That sounds so up our street.
But I mean, like, how could Hopkins... he's one of the Welsh's accents going. How could he play? I'll explain that. Back in the day when you see those like, they do that kind of like broad British,
it's like
transatlantic.
What's it, the Queen's English almost?
Yeah, but they do that. You know, like you'll have like Errol Flynn playing like.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Like transatlantic sort of. Yeah, like Gatsby kind of. Fucking speak. But yeah, I just surprised that I never even heard of this, him playing like a sort of medieval role like that. Anyway, I watched a few clips and it does look a bit dated.
Okay.
But as you can imagine, the acting is really fucking good. Very Shakespeare. But I can see why it got Hopkins a bit of fame.
Yeah. Well, he's probably one of the last like thespian actors, like him and Gandalf. Like
him and like McKellen,
and then like not Helen Mirren, Dame Judi Dench. You know,
like real thespians, like actual dramatically trained, you know.
Yeah, because we have actors now, and we have like good actors now who are like, but none of them who are, all have that kind of ilk. That's
you look like someone like Timothée Chalamet, right? Yeah. He's amazing. He's a very talented actor, but he's. You know what I'm saying when I say he's not dramatically trained.
No, he's like
he's like self-taught, if that makes sense.
Well, that's the thing. They like there was a school of people who there was a school of actors,
and I'm sure he has been to drama school and he has been taught, but that thespian like kind of royal Shakespeare-y kind of vibe, you know.
It's because the films they were making were all Shakespeare plays and all that stuff, and if they weren't in movies, they were in Shakespeare plays. So that's why they all have that like insane knowledge. Like you know, like Dame Judi Dench can like do soliloquies.
She can just reel off like a bit of Shakespeare, no problem.
Yeah, and so can fucking Gandalf. Like
so McKellen, Hopkins can do it as well. Like, I've seen interviews where he just goes like that, like it's just drilled into him, sort of thing.
And there is something really like iconoclastic and like cool and like.
It's like a different. I'm not going to say it's better, but it's a certain different. It's a different caliber, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's not better. You're right, but it is. It's like a certain, and it's like a dying breed. There are only a few handful left who still do that.
I think a lot of like modern actors, they think it's probably not that important to know all that shit, you know.
Or maybe just it's just the audience doesn't want it as much.
That's true. Yeah, but anyway, in this line of winter, like I said. I like my bits there that it's very good acting in the little clips I've seen, but Anthony Hopkins has the absolute shittest fake beard in it that I've ever seen. Like it's awful. It's fucking awful. Anyway, his next big one was The Elephant Man in 1980.
Oh, he's in that, is he?
Yeah, I haven't actually seen The Elephant Man. You know, I've only seen like the clip.
Is it the one with John Hurt in it?
Yeah, it's really sort of doing that a lot. It's meant to be very good. The closest I've come to this film is, like I said, doing impressions of the Elephant Lad without having seen it. So I don't really know how good it is. And what I've done, by the way, through this thing is if I found entertaining, positive and negative reviews, I've inserted them, right? So for the Elephant Man, I've got a positive review from...
that's quite fun.
From, what's it, the David Lynch's... Oh, no, hang on. Let me see this again.
Hang on now.
Hang on a minute.
Good.
Right. This is a positive review I found from the time. Tender, wonderfully acted and profoundly moving. The Elephant Man is a unique ray of sentimentality in David Lynch's oeuvre. And then the negative that I found. The film's philosophy is shallow. Wow. The Elephant Man sure looked hideous. And gosh, isn't it wonderful how he kept it in spite of everything? And that was from the Hollywood Reporter. That seems kind of mean-spirited. But that was a good and bad review that I got from those ones. Then in 1991 came arguably his most famous role, Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs. Now that is a fucking superb film.
And I've not seen it.
You're joking. You haven't seen Silence of the Lambs?
I have like a blind spot where I've not seen like fucking anything.
God, it's taking you this long to just do Harry Potter, let alone fucking Silence.
I went through not watching any film, and then I got to about like 16, and I watched as much as I could. And now, I now watch like 2 films a week, and I try and watch every new blockbuster, every new film that comes out, every indie film I can get my hands on. And but I'm going backwards. So like I did all the Harry Potters. I've done Escape from what's the one I did? What's this one here?
Escape from New York.
Yeah, Escape from New York.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, I thought it was really fun. Yeah, I thought it was
it's a good fun film.
Yeah.
Like Snake Plissken.
But I've done. You know how much you yap on about film, but from when I was born until 16, my mum and dad had we never went to cinema. They never had any. We had the 4 channels that were available on telly, 1 to 4. Channel 5. We didn't have an aerial for 5, so I couldn't watch anything on Channel 5. I just
didn't have the aerial for 5.
I've never seen.
That is lost knowledge now, mate. Like it didn't have an aerial for Channel 5.
Yeah, so I couldn't watch Channel 5, and I've never watched Star Wars. I never watched Back to the Future. Never watched like any of the big 80s or 90s films. I never really remember watching Jurassic Park, and I watched Jurassic Park today with Emma for like the first time properly. Yeah, it's fucking amazing. 5-star for me. Gave it a 5 out of 5.
Mate, you're only about 30 years late, but yeah.
That's but that's what I mean. Like, I just, and my mate Harry always makes fun of me or laughs about it. I have, for someone who loves film, mate, I just hadn't seen.
Genuinely, I almost don't want to spoil it anything for you. Watch Silence of the Lambs. Right, out of all the Hannibal Lecter films, watch Silence of the Lambs. It is fucking.
I know
superb.
all the Clarice, and there was
the pop culture references.
Yeah,
but genuinely,
nice
it is. Absolutely, it's a superb film, right? So Hopkins got an Oscar for that role, despite only being in the film for 16 minutes of the 2-hour runtime. But it's absolutely worth it. He's fucking phenomenal on that, right? That film would spawn 3 others. One sequel called Hannibal in 2001, directed by Ridley Scott. A prequel, Red Dragon, in 2002.
That's why Bruce Lee. Is Bruce Lee in Red Dragon?
Not Bruce Lee, no. Bruce Lee is a martial artist.
Yeah, I thought he was in Red Dragon.
No, you're thinking of Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Why the fuck would Anthony Hopkins Hannibal Lecter is in a martial arts tournament?
I've never seen any of
the films. If you lose, you get eaten. Yeah. If you've not seen it, why did you say it with such authority? Going, it's one Bruce Lee in it.
Because I remember thinking, I actually tried to read the books, and I remember
that's the one with Bruce Lee, Enter the Dragon. Good Lord.
Yeah, they're in Port Talbot, aren't they? Bruce Lee comes down.
It's a fighting competition, and if Anthony Hopkins wins, he gets to eat liver beans. Yeah.
Right, sorry, it's not in then.
Also, you've missed my lovely reference there, because the Red Dragon, which is a very good film as well, 2002.
Good film.
That's a prequel. Guess who's directed by?
Oh, a Welsh guy,
Brett the Rat Ratner, mate.
Oh,
the fucking sex pest director.
And what's he done?
Recent name drop in the Epstein files.
Oh, he's on the Epstein.
Yeah, and also he's a fucking Nazi boy.
Is he?
Yeah, came out after this. So when I watched it, it was okay. All right, it's fine. Yeah. But annoyingly, it's actually quite a good film. I think it's quite a good film. But the director, Nazi boy,
not a good guy.
And then they went even further back, and they did a prequel called Hannibal Rising in 2007, directed by Peter Weber. And this is like it's a young Hannibal Lecter.
Weirdly, I've seen that one.
The worst one.
I've seen it with Andy.
The worst one.
Actually, I watched it with Andy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. We were like on a weekend away, and I think me and him were the last two going.
It's like the worst of the series on.
Yeah, they're in like the snow for a bit of it, and they're like,
yeah.
I've seen
awful.
that.
Really
dog
bad.
shit. Yeah,
it's the last time Anthony Hopkins reprises his role, but he only does a voiceover right at the start. He's like, "I wonder if you know where we fucking came from." Blah blah blah. Anyway, watch Silence of the Lambs. Very very good. So, like I said, Silence of the Lambs is easily the best in my opinion. And like I said, I hate to admit it because Brett Ratner is such a fucking scumbag, but Red Dragon is probably my second favourite out of them. Hannibal is alright. Hannibal Rising is shite. And as I mentioned just then, that's the last time Hopkins portrayed Hannibal Lecter in like voice only. But anyway, 1992 was a good year for our boy, starring in Howard's End, a period piece set in Edwardian England, and the much well-known Bram Stoker's Dracula.
He's in that, was he?
By yeah, he was Van Helsing in that, mate. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola. He was Van Helsing. And if I see Van Helsing, I swear to the Lord I'll slay him.
I'll slay him.
That's a good film as well.
Right down his face.
Silly good cast in that. Yeah. Besides Keanu Reeves, who like doesn't.
I thought you meant fucking Forgetting Sarah Marshall. It's like Keanu.
Oh no, yeah, that's a great film. Yeah. No, the Bram Stoker's Dracula. Keanu Reeves in that is good. Sorry, no, he's not good. The film is good, but he's got an absolute dog shit accent and terrible acting. Francis Ford Coppola, right, is on record saying like that Keanu Reeves, he was like, he's a prince of a human, but can't act for shit. Something like that. Like it's something along as I'm paraphrasing, but it's something like, basically saying he's the loveliest guy in the world, but like shite actor, right? Yeah. Anyway, Hopkins played Van Helsing in that film.
Oh, that's fun.
But in that he's quite sexy. But not as sexy as Hugh Jackman's version of Van Helsing,
which is amazing.
Which is incredible.
Another one of the ones that we love, like over the top.
If you had to choose between Bram Stoker's Dracula and Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing, get Van Helsing. Okay, if you want some sexy people and some good stupid action, go Van Helsing. With Hugh Jackman is so much better. There's also a scene in that film as well, Bram Stoker's Dracula, where the girl has turned into a vampire and she like tempts him. She's like trying to tempt him.
On
and
camera,
he's like,
by the way, Jack just did his shoulders back and forth,
like
rolled, like shaking his tits.
A little bit, shaking my titties. Well, that's exactly what happens in the film, right? Yeah. And Van Helsing's meant to be like, I'm the like expert on this. I'm like an anti-vampire. I'm a vampire hunter. You know what I mean? But he absolutely succumbs to his baser instincts, right? And he absolutely necks her, and then goes, actually no, and then stakes her in the heart. But he plays it so well. It's like it's played very well in that it's like I've been broken for just a second, but then I come up. But it makes me think that, like it wasn't scripted, and Hopkins was like, "Oh, this young babe, I got a neck though, and I got a neck."
Can I just say as well? Do you know I got the Enter the Dragon reference wrong? I once listened to a podcast that was about which I thought it was about
Bruce Lee and martial arts.
It was about Hollow Man. But I thought the film was Sleepy Hollow. And, you know, there's such, like, Sleepy Hollow is the film where it's...
God, you just need to listen. That's all you need to do, and it would cure most of these things.
So fed up of my dyslexia.
I thought it was Hollow Man. Oh, I thought he meant Sleepy Hollow, even though he said this is a film about a Hollow Man.
Every week they'd, like, tell you what they were going to review next week, so I watched it.
What were you thinking the whole way?
I was so confused. I actually emailed
hang on, so when he gets invisible, and Kevin Bacon...
Well, I was so confused because they didn't mention Johnny Depp, and I was like,
he's not even headless.
I was like 30 minutes in, and they were like, "Oh, it's like
they've not even mentioned Depp yet."
Yeah. And it was I actually messaged the podcast. I said, like, I was so confused, and I got a response, and the response just said, "You fucking idiot."
That is so funny that you messaged them. Excuse me, haven't even mentioned.
No, I did. I messaged them saying, "Oh, I thought you'd find this funny." That I got halfway through, and you still hadn't mentioned. You hadn't mentioned Johnny Depp, and they were like, because I realized halfway through what that wasn't it. But anyway,
you haven't actually mentioned that he's an invisible man.
Yeah. No, that wasn't what I emailed them about. I emailed them saying it was funny. I got it wrong, and it was Alexi and Cam. You know those the Aussie ones. Anyway, back to you.
Oh, okay, right.
It was so hot and bothered.
Anyway,
and your rum has gone down.
I just can't believe that. Hey, Enter the Dragon versus Red Dragon, and then Sleepy Hollow versus Hollow Man.
You can see the connection
Well,
dots.
they're kind of a similar genre, I guess.
Also, I hadn't seen either of them, so I just go in.
Weighing in on films you haven't seen.
No, it's not weighing in. They said, "Oh, watch this by next week." So they said, "All right, watch Hollow Man by next week."
Oh, I see what you mean.
Okay.
So it's like, well, I've never seen it, so maybe this is the film.
So then so like 2 days later, I was like, "All right, well, what's that film I got to watch?" Oh, Sleepy Hollow. So I got Sleepy Hollow, watched it, then listened to the podcast, and then I was
Cameron
like,
and Lexi, they haven't mentioned the Headless Horseman much.
I haven't mentioned much, once. Anyway, don't you dare try and have a go at me, you little pig.
Do you know what you've done? You've just exhausted my entire fucking rum, so I'm going to have to pour another one now, right, before I start this next bit. Anyway, my main point was, watch Silence of the Lambs. If I haven't watched Bram Stoker's Dracula, watch Bram Stoker's Dracula as well. That's very, very good. And then, before I get on to the next bit, hang on, let me pour this one. So in 1994, Hopkins was in a film called Legend of the Fall, starring alongside Brad Adolf Hitler. I think you might have seen... I think I saw this one like years ago, but I don't really remember it. Hopkins plays like a weary, like moralistic father in this one. And he's got 3 sons in Montana. And they're like going through the trials and tribulations of love and war in the early 1900s, right? And I've got the positives and negative reviews of this as well. So the positive, the latest offering from Edward Zwick is the kind of movie that doesn't require much effort to surrender to and enjoy. Positive. Negative. In all, Legends of the Fall is a grand bore, more laughable than stirring, so beautiful it could be an ad for male hair products. So, quite the slam. Next biggie came in 1995. And did you know that Hopkins played Richard Nixon? Because I didn't.
No.
Well, he did in this film called Nixon, and he got nominated for an Oscar. He was that good. I'd never heard of this film. I don't know why. I think maybe like when I think of Nixon films, I think of like Michael Sheen, because he did that one with Frost Nixon. Do you remember?
Oh yeah,
it was Frank Langella as Nixon. Yeah. And I think, I don't know, maybe there's like only room for one Welshman in like a story about American politics or something. Then in 1997, he starred as John Quincy Adams in Amistad. Now, this is a film I know is meant to be good. I still haven't watched it. Basically, it's like 3.5 hours long. I just haven't had the patience to like put it on. He plays in the ex-president turned courtroom hero who argues for the freedom of slaves that revolted while being transported to America. This is another one, like I said, I've been wanting to watch for ages, haven't got around to. It's got an insane cast: Hopkins, Morgan Freeman, Matthew McConaughey, Jim Hounsou, bound to be decent. It's all about him like arguing for the freedom of these slaves that revolted on the Amistad.
Oh yeah,
you might have heard of Amistad.
Yeah. I remember. I think in history we watched a show about the Amistad where the film looked really good.
Yeah, it looks amazing. It's got incredible cast, but I just need to actually get around to watching it. So now we're on to the real deal, right? Forget fighting for the God-given rights of your fellow man. How about upstaging prime Antonio Banderas in being sexy as fuck in the 1998 film The Mask of Zorro? Me and Franco love this film.
One of our favourites.
It's a huge, amazing, great swashbuckler of a flick, and possibly the horniest film ever to grace cinema.
Horny.
It's up there with The Mummy. I don't know who's horniest, but
but it also it's Anthony what's he called? Banderas. So beautiful.
I would say though, what makes it the sexiest film of all is in no small part to the 2 Welsh members of the cast.
Yeah,
Anthony Hopkins, Catherine Zeta-Jones, mate.
Oh, those two together. They are beautiful. And that's when we got
to
add in again the sound of the panther. Because the entire film is like underscored with that. When anything ever happens, you hear this panther scream for no reason whatsoever.
not even Antonio Banderas and Catherine Zeta-Jones. They're young in it, right? You expect them to be kind of the sexy young lead, but I cannot stress enough how sexy Anthony Hopkins is made in this film.
Yeah,
like he's he's just so fit. I don't know how he's like glossy. He's like tanned. It's insane. Anyway, did you ever know about this? Right, so I read this. There's a crossover comic, right, written by Quentin Tarantino, and it's a cross between Zorro and Django.
I had heard
and
that
it's
too.
And Zorro is like an old man in it.
Yeah.
He's got like he's still got pep in his step type thing. And he teams up with Django, who's like down in Mexico, and it's about like freeing slaves and stuff like that. It's a really good comic, right?
Yeah.
And there was rumors, like, I don't know,
they were going to make a film
like
about
5 years ago. They were going to make a film, and I was like, mate, if they made that, it'd be so good.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's a positive review of Mask of Zorro. The spirited rerun, neatly mixing parody and panache, squeezes a surprising amount of fun out of the old warhorse. That's from Metacritic. Negative. The story is not important. The clash of swords, the leaps, the tumbles, it's all very nice, but after 136 minutes, it becomes a bit much. Absolutely disagree.
No, you can't.
Because it's such a good film.
I've been I'm in a real swashbuckling vibe recently, and I was saying to Emma, like, what defines them is they're kind of a bit tongue in cheek, they're a bit saucy, they're a bit like silly. The stakes are kind of like they feel really high, but like it's
a heightened sense of reality. It's like you said, it's a bit sexy, like you said,
The Mummy. The best ones, The Mummy. Hook's a good swashbuckler.
Hook.
Zorro, Mummy 2, Jurassic Park.
All the mummies.
The Jurassic Park's a bit of a swashbuckler, maybe.
No,
it's not really.
But I know what you mean. It's you need like a larger than life kind of hero.
Yeah, Robin Hood ones back when they were fun ones.
Prince of Thieves. That's a swashbuckler.
That's a great swashbuckler. And they're like my favourite films. They're so silly. Waterworld, that keeps popping up for me to watch. I'm really keen to rewatch that.
Watch that, man.
Yeah, I've seen it once. I've seen it like 20 years ago.
Watch the Ulysses cut, mate. I watched that the other day. It was fucking incredible. It was really good.
Is it actually a good film? Because I know it was like one of the biggest flops in history.
Watch the Ulysses cut, mate. I watched that film, and I've watched a video the other day about like what a nightmare that was to actually create. And basically what happened is the director really wanted to do like his own version, and he got ham-fisted by the studio to like do whatever version that was released. It bombed, whatever. But there's a thing called the Ulysses cut, which like fan edits are put together.
Oh, really?
And it's basically as close to what the director wanted as possible. And it's fucking brilliant, mate. It really does. The pace of it just is much better. It's a long film, mind. It's like 3.5 hours, but it is really, really good. Right. Anyway, let's get back into it because we're drawn on. So, then for the last of his sort of acclaimed films, we got like 1998's Meet Joe Black. I really, really like this film actually, despite it being long as fuck and like including Brad Pitt doing an absolutely awful Jamaican accent at one point. I don't know if you've seen this film.
Yeah, I have. It's like
Black.
Yeah,
he goes, "Come on now, baby." Again,
I was thinking Mighty Joe Young.
Oh, for fuck's sake, mate! Meet Joe Black, Mighty Joe Young.
So one's got a big monkey in it.
You know what?
That's Mighty Joe Young, isn't it?
You deserve that extra 15 minutes in school. That's insane.
I haven't seen the other one. I've seen Mighty Joe Young where they have a big monkey and they look after it.
What are you thinking? Have you seen that? Yeah, the one with the massive monkey. Yeah. I don't remember doing a Jamaican accent though.
You might have done. I don't remember anything of that film.
Anyway, right. So Meet Joe Black is very good. The premise is that Hopkins' character, he's like he's about to die. He's like lived a very full life and whatever. And just before he dies, death like comes to him and says, "Look, I want to experience a bit of what life is about." So he chooses Hopkins to like sort of guide him through life and be like, "Why is life so precious? Why do people like cling on to it so much? Blah blah blah." In exchange for that, it'll give him a few more weeks of life. Death ends up falling in love with his Hopkins' character's daughter in it. played by a very attractive Claire Forlani, and it unearths all this like undercover shit, the Hopkins character's life and whatnot. It's a very, very good film. Like I said, you need like 3.5 hours to kill to watch it. And it is really good acting, despite this really tone deaf. Like, there's a bit where, as Death, he's in this hospital and he's talking to this woman who's like Jamaican, and to make her feel at ease, he starts like speaking Jamaican to her, but as white Brad Pitt, it's like it comes across.
I've seen that on clips.
You must have seen the clip.
I've seen that on
Do you
clips.
know about it?
Hear me now.
Yeah, it's so bad.
Go with the doctor, lady. Mom gonna be fine now. Right. Will be evil, I not evil, oh man.
And what you is then?
I from that next place.
You waiting here to take us? Like you's the bus driver to there?
No, man, I on holiday.
Anyway, then there's 2020's The Father, which got Hopkins' second Oscar win.
With Sophie from Peep Show, didn't it?
Olivia Colman, that's it. So in this, he plays a father struggling with dementia, and I actually haven't seen it. But
it looks too sad.
Well, that's another thing. I don't want to like cry over it, but a lot of my mates, I've got friends and family and all that who've seen it, and they said it's absolutely brilliantly done. It's like it's filmed from like the perspective of the dementia patient. So it's like characters in the film will like they'll change actors even though they're the same character and stuff like that. And I remember I was talking to my father-in-law about it, and he was like, I was so confused, but he was like, that's the whole point. You're meant to be looking at it from his perspective. It's like his daughter comes in and it's played by a completely different person than it was before in the previous scene. And it's like, it's because he's losing,
creep on reality.
Yeah, it's apparently he's phenomenal, and he got an Oscar for that again. So second Oscar win, Diane T. Now, onto the unusual roles of this Welsh legend, right? So first up is a film called Magic from 1978, where Hopkins plays a guy named Corky, a quote, unstable ventriloquist who slowly gets dominated by his sinister dummy named Fats. From the poster, he looks like a bit like Slappy from Goosebumps. Do you remember that?
No, but I weirdly had watched the intro to Goosebumps today. It came up on my Instagram feed. Terrifying.
So for a positive review of this film, Magic is one of the top-notch films of the 1970s. The excitement comes with the waiting. Negative. It's intended to be a thriller, but there's little suspense and almost no fun in this account of a schizophrenic ventriloquist.
When did it come out?
In the 1978. The next film I'm annoyed I haven't watched yet. It's called Bad Company from 2002, and I've talked to you about this before.
Yeah.
This is a buddy cop action comedy starring Anthony Hopkins alongside Chris Rock, which is I just can't imagine what this is going to be like. The setup is right. The Hopkins character was partners with a shit hot like CIA agent who died on the job, but to keep the mission going, like he was undercover, they have to like draft in the agent's twin brother to like keep the whole like charade going sort of thing. And they need to get hold of a suitcase nuclear bomb. Unsurprisingly, Hopkins plays like the straight man. Chris Rock plays like the funny guy. I watched the trailer right while I was writing these notes, and one of the bits is like Hopkins handed him a file about his brother, and Rock's like, "Ooh, served in the Naval Academy? What'd he serve? Lunch?" And it's like hard cut to the next scene. It's
I mean,
like
that's
so
gold.
I mean, yeah, maybe.
I'm joking. That's dog shit.
You know what? When we're doing this, I might actually sprinkle like audio snippets of the
that'd be a
trailer
good
into
idea.
it, 'cause
That'd be nice.
Jacob Hayes. I'm Officer Oakes.
Well, CIA for scalping tickets.
We need your help, Mr. Hayes. Just before he was killed, your brother was working on something with us.
My twin brother was CIA.
Yeah, he was. So we need you to stand in for him.
How much?
Throw out a number.
$50,000, tax-free.
$25,000.
Unless my mother had triplets, you're gonna give me $50,000.
Yeah.
So like another bit, for example, is Hopkins goes,
Don't shoot the bomb!
Don't shoot me either!
he goes, "Wow, you couldn't think that this could ever happen."
from Touchstone Pictures and Jerry Bruckheimer Films.
Out of the way! Come on, man! You're James Bond! Shoot somebody!
It's going from bad to worse.
It's produced by Jerry Bruckheimer, right? Because I thought this was like some dog shit studio. It's produced by Jerry Bruckheimer. He's the same guy who did The Rock, Top Gun, Bad Boys, Pirates of the Caribbean. Like that's like a huge fucking studio. But this looks dog shit. We have to watch it at some point.
This is your brother's file.
Served in the Naval Academy.
That's right.
So what do you serve, lunch?
Positive review of this. Hopkins and The Rock are a surprisingly good mix. Hopkins actually underplays his role as a company man with a barely acknowledged conscience, while Rock's manic impulses aren't allowed to run riot. That's from IMDb. Negative. Chris Rock and Anthony Hopkins failed to generate the sparks necessary to save the movie from a generic and utterly predictable script. Woof. Right, and lastly, is a film Hopkins starred in and directed called Slipstream from 2007. I haven't seen this one either, but from IMDb score of 4.8 out of 10 and the Rotten Tomatoes score of 27%, I imagine it didn't make a lot of waves when it came out. It's about a writer whose murderous characters start invading the real world, and he's not sure if he's losing his mind or not. One of the worst reviews I found of it called it a pretentious, incoherent, and unwatchable, which is fucking scathing. And yeah, that's basically it. Unless you want to divulge more about Hopkins' best bit.
We've done an hour of Hopkins.
We have been gone. We've had so many riffs.
Yeah. I think that we've Hopkins out.
We've gone over Hop.
Yeah. I do. What have I seen him with that I actually like, though? Because mine were all the Zorro things.
I purposely didn't go into his telly, right? I just did his movies. But Westworld, he was fucking incredible.
Oh, he was amazing in Westworld. Yeah. Yeah,
that's the only thing I can think of outside of that. I was like, that is a phenomenal.
I was going to say, because I haven't really seen a huge amount of his stuff, but whenever you do see any kind of like clip or anything, he's always just so intense and fantastic.
So good.
Yeah.
Also, if no one's seen Westworld, that's got Ed Harris in it as well.
Yeah.
There's one scene with him and Ed Harris in it, and it's like it's
world class,
phenomenal acting.
Yeah.
Like you can't even categorize
it.
It's so good.
We've gone on for an hour, so I reckon we say no star.
Oh, such a long episode, I thought it'd be.
I know, we're so much drunker than we thought.
Diolch pawb.
Diolch pawb.